to another episode of Off the Menu. I'm your host, Vincent Franchini from Tumblr House, here with a nocturnal Charles Coulombe.
Nocturnal? As in, I only come out at night?
Yes.
As in, I'm one of the children of the night?
Yes.
I'm one of the October people.
I don't know what that is.
I'm to be found primarily under lampposts late at night, looking kind of dodgy.
Wow. Is that what October people are?
Well, no, you know what October people are. They live in the October country, which is at an end for our regular viewers because they are watching this on the Feast of All Saints.
Yes, they are.
We're seeing them. We're doing this on Mischief Night, on the eve of All Saints. They're seeing it on All Saints.
That's right.
You see that pumpkin behind me?
Yeah.
You notice it doesn't have a jack-o'-lantern carved in its face yet.
It's very true.
That's because that's happening tomorrow. I'm not carving the jack-o'-lantern until then.
Ah. Okay.
Does this make sense?
It all makes sense now.
But wait, there's more.
Okay.
It's not just Halloween tomorrow. Two of my favorite feasts in one day.
Do tell.
Halloween, and in the traditional calendar, you ready?
Ready.
The Feast of Christ the King.
Ah.
Yeah, but wait, there's more. The Feast of Christ the King, as it's held traditionally, and you can see this in the liturgical elements of it, is dedicated to the social reign of Christ the King, Christ's reign over both individuals, countries, and society in general. But in the new calendar, it was moved to the last Sunday of the year, the last Sunday of November. And if you look at the liturgical stuff there, it's mostly, shall we say, eschatological. In other words, looking toward the future kingship of Christ. Now, I love the whole concept of the kingship of Christ so much that I actually double dip and celebrate both feasts. But I had an idea recently.
Okay.
The idea was that at some future point, when we have a pontiff who's interested in religion or whatever it is they're supposed to be interested in, what about keeping both feasts and having the original date as the feast of the social kingship of Christ, and the last one as the eschatological kingship of Christ, because it's the last Sunday in the year, which in the traditional calendar was aimed toward the apocalypse anyway.
It's true.
Yeah, I think that would work very nicely.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Charles.
Believe me, I'd go for. I mean, one of the complaints a lot of traditionalists make about the new feast is precisely that it's emphasized toward the future and doesn't talk about the present. Well, all right, I think that's a valid critique. So we keep both and honor both elements of his kingship.
When's the feast day for Christ, the President of Presidents?
President of Presidents, November 30th. November 31st, rather. Every November 31st is the Feast of Christ, the President of Presidents. And that's to commemorate the feast, everyone votes in a clear and free election on November 31st, which is the only date that you can be guaranteed that your election will be free and honest and above board.
Nice.
Any election on any other date is open to problems, but not on November 31st. It's protected by that feast day.
Excellent.
I thought you'd be glad to know. So let me see. Beyond that, though, there's more, dare I say it. Because this is the tomorrow being, not tomorrow, but Monday when you're all watching this, the Feast of All Saints has an octave, 8 days. And you can go every day to the cemetery and get a plenary indulgence for one or more dead souls in said cemetery under the usual conditions. But wait, there's more. November 2nd is All Souls Day. And that's a very, very important date, to say the least. Now, one of the peculiarities of things is that tonight, which is Saturday night, where we're dealing with everything, normally the liturgical vigil of All Saints, Halloween, is the day preceding. But when Halloween falls on a Sunday, liturgically, the vigil of All Saints is done tonight. And so, for that reason, and that reason alone, I would like to read something to our beloved audience. Especially because, to be honest with you, well, two things have happened. My niece just got engaged, and an old friend of mine, Gene Snyder, died. So the passage of time is very much in my mind. Well, this is what Dom Garanger has to say for October 31st, the Vigil of All Saints, but tonight is the Vigil liturgically. He says, speaking, of course, of All Saints, let us prepare our souls for the graces heaven is about to shower upon the earth in return for its homage. Tomorrow, the Church will be so overflowing with joy that she will seem to be already in possession of eternal happiness. But today, she appears in the garb of penance, confessing that she is still in exile. Let us fast and pray with her. For are we not too pilgrims and strangers in this world, where all things are fleeting and hurry on to death? Year by year, as the great solemnity comes round, it is gathered from among our former companions new saints, who bless our tears and smile upon our songs of hope. Year by year, the appointed time draws nearer when we ourselves, seated at the heavenly banquet, shall receive the homage of those who succeed us, and hold out a helping hand to draw them after us to the home of everlasting happiness. Let us learn from this very hour to emancipate our souls. Let us keep our hearts free in the midst of the vain solicitudes and false pleasures of a strange land. The exile has no care but his banishment, no joy but that which gives him a foretaste of his fatherland. Which is also something to meditate upon in this period that we're entering, which is the month of the Holy Souls, November. The octave of the Holy Souls will come, and that is going to be November the 8th, my birthday. But it's also the feast of Blessed Duns Scotus. It's the big feast of St. Michael for the Byzantines. It is the feasts, respectively, of all the saints of England and all the saints of Wales in those countries' calendars. And if that isn't enough, in the traditional calendar, it is the feast of the Four Crowned Martyrs, who have a basilica in their honor in Rome. And you know why that's important to you personally, Vincenzo?
Why?
Because it's the title of a cardinal. Which cardinal is the cardinal of the Four Crowned Martyrs? He's someone very close to you personally.
Which cardinal?
Yeah. Living person.
Of one, I don't know. Who?
He's your cardinal, and you'll cry if you want to, cry if you want to, cry if you want to. You would cry too if he happened to you. Cardinal Mahoney.
Does he still vote? Does he still vote for, like, even though he's retired?
Yeah, I think he's until he's 80.
Why'd you have to bring him up?
Why? Because November the 8th. I always think of him November the 8th. But since you're tired of him already, guess which place calls itself the Halloween capital of the world?
I don't know. Hollywood?
No.
Where? What's the Halloween capital of the world?
Anoka, Minnesota.
Why?
Because that is the first place in the United States that we have any record of trick-or-treating.
Wow. So that's
now
the
they make it-
birthplace of trick-or-treating.
That's what they claim. So they've anointed themselves the Halloween capital of the world. So forget the haunted happenings in Salem. Forget the reading of the Headless Horseman in Sleepy Hollow. Forget the haunted tours of the French Quarter of New Orleans. Forget all that. Anoka, Minnesota.
You got to say that in a Minnesotan accent, though.
Anoka, Minnesota.
There we go.
Halloween capital of the world. It's very nice, very nice. We love Halloween here in Anoka. You know, not a lot happens here.
Yeah.
Very nice. We like it. It's nice. It's Minnesota nice.
All right, very good, Charles.
You feel better now?
I do. That makes me happy.
I thought it might.
All right.
What is your favorite Halloween place?
Halloween place?
Yeah. Now, and it could be a ride or something like Not Scary Farm or the Haunted Queen Mary or anything you like.
That's a hard one.
Vatican City.
Okay. How about the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland?
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, how about the Vatican? But never mind.
Wow.
Well, you heard what happened this week.
Joe Biden's meeting with the Pope?
Met, past tense.
I thought he's... Oh, okay.
Yeah, he met with him, and he was asked if abortion came up, and he said no. But the Pope was very glad that he's a good Catholic and told him to keep receiving communion. So that's nice.
I thought they were quiet on that.
No. Biden opened his mouth. See, when you're senile, you lose control. So he talked about it, and the Vatican press office just said it was a private conversation. They had no comment.
I see. All right. It's a little too scary for me. This topic's a little too Halloweeny for me.
Vatican's. Are you calling the president a Halloweeny?
Yes.
Oh, all right.
All right. Let's move on to the questions.
The questions? What about memes of production?
No memes today. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everyone. No memes.
You're an old meme.
Wow, that's so well done, Charles. You're
welcome. You're welcome.
All right, question from Alex, who says, can Charles explain the social kingship of Christ the King Sunday, and its connection to the so-called Reformation Day?
He can.
If yes, will he please do so? Ooh, see, he got you. Ooh, Alex.
Got me there.
He ain't no
What's
fool.
this guy's name?
Alex.
What's this guy's name? Alex. Yeah, you nailed me to the wall on that one, pal. All right, fine. Be that way. I don't care. I'll tell all. What is the social kingship of Christ? Basically, it is the reflection that Christ is king of society. Now, what does that mean? It means, number one, that just as every human being has an obligation to worship Christ and honor him, so do societies, partly in a ceremonial fashion, partly by the way they order themselves. So, you should have just laws. Murdering infants, perhaps, would not count as a just law. You should have just economics. That is to say, the rich should not be robbed and the poor should not be starved. The country should function like a family under the fatherhood of God. And so it goes. That's the social kingship of Christ. The Feast of Christ the King was originated in 1925 by Pope Pius XI. And he spoke about it in his wonderful encyclical Quas Primas, Quasprimas, which I recommend very highly. You can get it online from the Vatican website. Just type in Quas Primas Joe Biden.
What? Why?
Why what?
Why Joe Biden?
What about him?
What does he have to do with Quas Primas?
Nothing. It's about the social kingship of Christ. Why?
Well, you said the word Joe Biden.
What about him?
You said the words Joe Biden.
Well, yeah, it's because you just did.
Are you okay? Where are you? Are you on the 13th floor right now?
Why are you bringing up Joe Biden?
To bother you.
Well, all right, you succeeded. As far as the 13th floor goes, I never go near there around Halloween. Do you think I'm crazy? The last time I made the mistake of getting anywhere near that place on Halloween, it's got to be 5 years ago if it's a day, and it was a mistake, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Because I got into the elevator, and I was going up to the 25th floor. I wasn't even thinking of the 13th. But sure enough, you see, I didn't stop to look. See, if I was smart, I'd do what Tyrone does. He doesn't get on the elevator when you can see 13. That boy knows. He just stays off it. When he sees 13, when the door opens up and you look and you see, when you see the 13, he doesn't get on. And even when you can see it, it almost never stops there. But he doesn't take chances, He says, I'll go up the stairs. I don't care. That's one reason, he's so buff, because he goes running up and down the stairs. Anyhow, so it was, of course, it was Halloween, but it was during the day, so I didn't think much of it. I was going up to the 25th floor. The elevator stops at 13, and I thought, oh gosh, what's this going to be? The door opens, and then I'm sorry, what were we talking about again?
We were talking about Alex's question. Did you talk about the so-called Reformation Day?
No. All right. So the so-called Reformation Day was cooked up for the last Sunday in October. And it is, I think it was after World War I, but it was popularly supposed that Pius XI invented the Feast of Christ the King as a counter to Reformation Day in order to, basically cock a snook at the Protestants. And that's one of the reasons why it was moved after 1962 to 69, I guess, to the last Sunday in November. But as we discussed earlier, strangely enough, as we discussed earlier, it does make a certain sense being there as well. So I would hope that a future pope would have some interest in liturgy or whatever it is popes are supposed to be interested in, would actually revive October for the social kingship and keep November for the eschatological kingship. So I think that would be a good deal. As far as Reformation Sunday goes, the thing is that Halloween is the day upon which Martin Luther tacked up his feces on the church door. So that's why Reformation Day is celebrated then. Interestingly enough, the last Sunday in November is Death Sunday or something like that. It's Remembrance of the Dead in the Prussian Lutheran Church, specifically the dead of the Napoleonic War, Totensonntag. So the other thing that's interesting too is that although most Protestant churches don't believe in praying for the dead, the Lutheran churches of Sweden, Finland and Estonia, they do. So doesn't make a lot of sense to me either, but so it is.
Okay, Mason has a question. He says, over the summer, I was able to read The Genius of Christianity by Viscount René de Chateaubriand and was struck by the depth of it, and it is one of my favorite Catholic books. I know numerous saints were inspired by it. This has led me to wonder if there's any movement to canonize Chateaubriand, as he seems to have been pious and profound in rebuilding the church in France after the disaster of 1789. His story seems to me as a lay St. Ignatius of Loyola. He lost his faith at a young age and was moved by tragedy and loss so that he found it again. Thus, knowing what I do, I see no reason why not to canonize him, or at least to explore a cause for canonization. Has there ever been any movement to explore a cause of canonization for Chateaubriand? And is there any movement currently active that aims to do so? What are some reasons for or against such a canonization that Charles can think of?
Well, there's several. The problem with Chateaubriand, although he's everything you say he was, everything, he had kind of a wild private life. He had a mistress or two. And while he was certainly a very forceful Catholic apologist, he was also a very prominent royalist politician. And as things stand at the moment, the political aspect would get in his way, to say nothing of the moral. So there has never been a cause introduced for him, to my knowledge, and I don't think that there ever will. But you never know. Say a prayer to him, see if he responds. And that's how causes get started.
Yeah, we don't carry Genius of Christianity in a bookstore because there's no prominent publisher that publishes that book. Do you think there'd be a reason for that?
Yeah, it's long and difficult, and its most recent English translation was like 1850. So the English is a little hard for a lot of modern English speakers to read.
Interesting. All right.
But you can see it. You can read it online very, very easily. It's quite accessible.
I see. All right. Nate has a question. He says, so the Dominicans are leaving my parish, which I just joined, the birthplace of the Knights of Columbus, St. Mary's in New Haven. The Dominicans are very holy and devout men who offer great spiritual succor to us, and many of us fear what will become of our parish after they leave. I'm wondering, given this situation, how Charles had spiritually dealt with the crisis in the church. I find the rosary and the sacraments have helped me in this endeavor. But what supplementary practices do you use to emotionally deal with the lack of good leadership in the church?
Well, firstly, my sympathies. I know your parish. I know St. Mary's. I've been there a number of times. I venerated the shrine of Blessed Father McGivney. I'm very, very, very sorry you have to go through that. Yeah, there are several things. The first, of course, is good Catholic reading. There's no doubt about that. But in addition, I'm sorry, we keeping you awake there, boss? I don't want to move in on your nap time.
Go
on. No, it's fine. All right.
Well, some of us work really hard, Charles.
I'm sure we do. I don't want to keep you awake beyond your time. You're an older married man now, and you've only got so much energy. We understand. It's okay.
I did not give you any abuse whatsoever after your March for Life thing, but I understand. It's a spiritual struggle for you. Trying to be humble, as humble as I am. But you know what?
All you need to do is kick your shoes off. Flex your feet a little bit. And so no one's going to notice. They can't see your feet. Go ahead and kick your shoes off. Relax. It's okay. We're here for you. Anyhow, where was I? Oh, yes. Oh, gosh. when old timers go real bad, it's sad. It's very sad. All right. But no, seriously, it's also a tension reliever, frankly, because what you're facing at St. Mary's, New Haven, golly. Anyway, yeah, I would make 3 recommendations, in 3 specifically spiritual recommendations. In addition to spiritual reading, which is so important, I would recommend that you contact and use 4 different sites/organizations. The first is the Real Presence Eucharistic Adoration Association, which you can find online. They've got a wealth of stuff about the Eucharist, everything from Eucharistic miracles to, you name it. But beyond that, they also have a listing of all the perpetual adoration chapels in the United States and Canada. And one of the things you'll find is that if you go to a perpetual adoration chapel, there's something very, very, very special about them beyond just adoration by itself. The knowledge that our Lord is always there, waiting for you. So, when you can stumble on such a place, by all means do. And I know there's several in Connecticut. The second I would recommend to you is the Honor Guard of the Sacred Heart, which in the United States is headquartered at the Visitation Convent in Tyringham, Massachusetts. But look up Honor Guard of the Sacred Heart, U.S., and begin to explore the devotion to the Sacred Heart, which is really, really important. If you read French, or if you're really good with Google Translate, I would also, while you're in that area, I would go to a site called Spiritualité Chrétienne, which means Christian spirituality. Their section on the Sacred Heart is incredible. There's a lot of other good stuff on that site too, about angels and Our Lady and the Blessed Sacrament, and it's a wonderful site in total. But their Sacred Heart section is just out of this world. Thirdly, I would go to the Confraternity of the Precious Blood, headquartered in Brooklyn, New York, at the Convent of the Precious Blood. I would join them. It's like $15 or something. And apart from the fact that you'll be enrolled in the sisters' prayers and all the masses and so forth, so you get the spiritual good out of that. The Visitation nuns in Tyringham will do the same if you join the Honor Guard. But you also get their prayer book, which is really, really excellent. Lots of prayers for lots of occasions. Lastly, but not leastly, I would recommend you get in touch with the Gebetsliga at blessedcharles.org. They too, just like the Honor Guard and the Confraternity, they have their own prayer book as well. And if I'd also say that another good prayer book, much thicker than the other 3, but also worth getting, is the St. Gregory prayer book that's put out by the Ordinariate. A lot of really good prayers. So in other words, I would strengthen your prayer life. The more time you spend saying the Rosary, visiting the Blessed Sacrament, saying prayers and devotions on your own, the less time you have to worry about the Church's leadership.
So true.
You can't escape them, of course, but you don't. When you're praying to God directly, you don't have to think about the Holy Father. You don't have to think about Joe Biden, the most important Catholic in the United States.
Well, it's like one of those popular bumper stickers. God's in charge.
Yeah. And mutatis mutandis, we had a run of really, really good popes, and they didn't get a lot of support. Benedict certainly didn't. Now, it's a little bit like when someone was complaining that various of today's royals are not wonderful. I looked at the guy and I said, yeah, well, you know what? Blessed Emperor Karl was a saint, and virtually everybody stabbed him in the back. Maybe we get the kind of garbagey leadership we have because we ourselves are. I'm not finishing that thought because I'm a nice person, basically.
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 All right, a question from Sandra, who says, Charles often comments on major American figures. I would like to know what he has to say about John Wayne, his politics, his deathbed conversion, and the attempts to get his name removed from the airport in Orange County, California. Ooh.
Well, John Wayne was, of course, an actor. He didn't really fight in every war we ever had.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. I hate to be the one to say this. And I mean, there was a certain amount of, shall we say, exaggeration in his manner. But he meant well. He certainly, he had his private life was, shall we say, spotty. But he certainly came into the church on his deathbed, and he meant it. For which I'm grateful, profoundly grateful. I'm grateful for everyone who comes into the church on their deathbed. Actually, I'm grateful for everyone who comes into the church, period. But particularly when someone comes in at that stage. I think the effort to rename John Wayne Airport is horrible. It really is just despicable. But if they're going to do that, I suggest they name it after Gavin Newsom. Or Mayor Villaraigosa. What? Obviously, we need someone who represents what California has become. I don't know the names of any porn stars, so I can't suggest them.
I'm going to go into a tangent. What about tell us about Fiorello LaGuardia? Because he's got an airport, right? Like is that New York?
He's got an airport. LaGuardia, sure. LaGuardia. LaGuardia. Fiorello LaGuardia.
So tell us about him.
Firstly, Mayor LaGuardia was not a Catholic. He was an Episcopalian. And his name, Fiorello, it means little flower. But he used to explain he was not named after St. Therese, but after the little flowers of St. Francis. Because, you see, St. Francis is respectable in Episcopalian circles. His father was an Italian who married up. It's just one of those things. He wasn't the real thing. And Mayor LaGuardia was what we call a goo-goo.
What is that?
It means he came in on a good government platform.
As opposed to the politicians that come in on a bad government platform, right?
Well, no. You see, traditionally in New York politics, you got to understand, kid. In New York politics, you basically had two parties whose names would change. But there were the regulars who dominated City Hall and the reformers who were out of office. And what would happen is they would have these rituals every few years called elections. And what would happen is that either the regulars would be reelected and the reformers would continue to press for good government, for they'd be goo-goos, until at some point in one of these rituals, the regulars would be defeated. They'd go out of office and the reformers would come in, and they would become the regulars, while the regulars who had been there would become reformers. You got it?
I mean, I guess so. Yeah, those who aren't in charge are the reformers.
Exactly, and they're very much against all the horrible corruption of City Hall, where the regulars represent all that's worst and broken in our system. So put us reformers in charge, and we'll make everything wonderful.
Got it.
And this dance has gone on for over almost 2 centuries now. And it's a wonderful part of what it makes the city of New York so special.
Is Joe Biden a reformer?
Not at the moment. He was when he was out of office. He was a
But he wants
reformer
to
under
build
Trump.
back better.
No, and it doesn't matter. Now he's a regular. He can do what he wants. See, reform is what you get into office on. It's not what you do while you're in office. You understand?
I think I understand.
Let me put this another way. You've got a key in your pocket to go in the door, right?
Okay.
You open the door, right?
Right.
Then you put the key back in your pocket, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then you go in, you pour yourself a drink, you have something to eat, maybe light up a smoke, right? You're with me.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you do what you want. You're at home. You do what you like. Well, reform is like the key. You let yourself in, and there you are in City Hall, and you can do whatever you want.
Wow,
But
that's a pretty good metaphor, Charles.
it's a very good metaphor. And see, you put the reform back in your pocket, and you keep it there until you need it again, which is generally when you're out of office. You see how it works?
Yeah.
The reformers and the regulars. Now, the regulars are evil and corrupt if you're out of office. But if you're in office, then the reformers are wild-eyed fanatics who are going to destroy the city. While you stand for everything that's true and good and wonderful about the great and glorious city of New York. But contrariwise, if you're on the outs, then the regulars are filthy reminders of the corrupt past of the city that we thought we had left behind us.
So, can you tell us anything specific about LaGuardia other than that he was a reformer, became a regular, which apparently every politician does?
In a nice way.
In a nice way, yeah.
He read the comics every Sunday. He read the funnies on the radio to the children.
Are you serious?
I am serious. He read Dick Tracy.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Anything else? Like, okay.
He was the mayor of New York. What more do you need? Let me tell you something. My favorite mayor of New York was driven out of office unfairly. He was driven out by a combination of communist and other interests.
What? Okay, who is this mysterious person?
Jimmy Walker, Bo James, who was succeeded by the odious Fiorello LaGuardia, the Goo-Goo, who was not a Catholic.
That is pretty weird.
What's weird? New York City politics?
Italian not being Catholic back in the day?
Well, that's because his I told you, his father married up.
I guess so.
But he traded on being Italian.
Naturally.
Of course.
All right, Charles, very good.
What's not to like?
What's not to like, indeed.
You know, you've got to, it reminds me of the time I was sitting in Katz's Deli one day. You're looking very tired all of a sudden. Are you all right?
I'm contemplating someone to bring on the show to do an obnoxious French impression. Like something akin to like maybe Pepe Le Pew or something.
I don't understand. Why you upset? I'm not doing Italian. I'm not doing an Italian. This isn't an Italian accent. If anything, it's closer to Irish than anything else. It's sort of generic New York of a certain era.
I guess so.
I'm not singling out the Italians for particular abuse at this moment. Why? I haven't imitated your great uncle Giovanni once.
All right, very good, Charles.
You see? Now, although he would have understood the lesson I'm trying to give you, he would have applauded the fact that I'm trying to help you understand the deep intricacies of New York politics and how closely related they have always been to the aspirations for all that is best and greatest in the human heart, in the human story. Because you see, the city of New York stands for what is true in the human condition. I don't care if it's Battery Park, Rockefeller Center, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, or even Staten Island. New York represents the highest aspirations of all mankind. That's why the United Nations is there. That's why the World's Fair in 1964 was there. I went to the World's Fair in 1964.
Well done.
I remember it very well. It was in Brooklyn Meadows. No, Brooklyn Meadows, I'm going crazy. It was in Flushing Meadows. And you see, that's the point. New York epitomizes everything that any decent person truly loves.
Well, I think maybe the people from New Jersey are going to take umbrage with that statement.
Well, that's just because they're in Jersey. What do you want? What do you expect? I mean, you know, it's a funny thing that this should have come up tonight, though, because I was speaking with a real New Yorker. I mean, I only lived there when I was a boy. But I was speaking with a real New Yorker, and he's a policeman by trade, actually. But you know, under Mayor de Blasio, the standard of living has gotten so bad, the price is so high that this cops had to take a second job.
Well, that's not unusual. I remember when I was trying to get my permit, my driver's license, and you know they have the driving schools. The guy who taught me was a cop too in Los Angeles.
Yeah, but this guy's a sergeant. You know.
Oh, I see.
He's a sergeant, and you know, it was kind of tough for him because normally what'll happen is they'll find work as a security guard.
Yeah.
You know, rent a cop kind of thing. The only thing he could find was as a bartender. So now he's working at Mr. Cacciatore's down on Sullivan Street, across from the medical center.
Okay.
When did you realize?
What, that you're quoting a Billy Joel song? What?
Yeah, there was a build-up, to quote Billy Joel.
Yeah.
When did you realize it?
That whole thing was a build-up? I thought you leveraged it into. Oh wow, that was
the whole
really...
thing was a build-up.
All right, well done.
You feel good about that?
Yeah, I feel good about it. I mean, you worked hard, you put in the effort, and you should be rewarded. You put in the hours, yeah, absolutely.
I must say, all the rest of it was not a build-up to that, though. I'm not joking, though, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just say here and now, I really do love the city of New York. I make a lot of fun of its politics because politics have always been horrible. But, you know, what are you going to do? And Jimmy Walker, well, what do you say about a man who, despite whatever corruption went on under his admittedly not very attentive watch, he had a song all his own. And whenever he would come to a nightclub or a restaurant or a bar when he was mayor, the band would strike up, "Will You Love Me in December as You Did in May," which he wrote. That was his theme song, Bo James. I mean, that's, if nothing else, it's style, you know? Maybe not so much with substance, but it's style. And LaGuardia, he was actually the same way. The whole reading the the funnies to the kids and all that. It was shtick. And that's one of the things I love about New York is shtick. I really do. But I will also say that north of the city, the enchanted valley of the Hudson, well, if I have two lungs, one of them is the city and the other is the Hudson.
Why don't politicians respect us enough to give us some shtick anymore?
Because they know what morons we are. We'll vote no matter what they do. I mean, look, let's put it this way. Let's say I fed you, okay? Now, in the beginning, now you think I'm an idiot because I'll pay you no matter what happens. But in the beginning, you'd show some respect. I'd come to the door, and you're always in a suit and tie and all that. And you'd say, "Oh, it's good to see you, Mr. Coulombe. Thanks so much." And I hand you your pay. And then you would get to the idea that maybe I'd want something in return for paying you. So maybe you tell me a few jokes, you sing a song or something, and I pay you. But then you realize, I'm such a moron. I'd pay you no matter what you did. So you come to the door in wife beaters and pajama bottoms, and hey, moron, you got my envelope? Yeah, and I give you your envelope. Well, that's how our masters are with us. They know that we'll take any crap they give us. So, why should they bother? Shtick takes effort and talent and brains.
That's actually true.
And if you don't have brains or talent, and all you've got going for you is that you're running the show because you're in charge, you can't do shtick.
Wow. All right. We've got a question.
I don't think you should. I think you're being unreasonable expecting shtick out of people who have neither talent nor brains.
I wasn't expecting it. I just saying it would be nice is all.
Well, it would be nice. I mean, it would be nice if they were decent human beings. It would be nice if they had a brain to split between them. A lot of things would be nice. It'd be nice if they, weren't hypocritically, morally bankrupt blowhards. But they are what they are, and I've chosen to accept them for what they are, and not to project onto them my idea of what they should be as my owners.
Good. All right. Question from Lewis. Hello there, gentlemen. I'm delighted to say that I joined the Married Catholic Gentlemen's Club in August, around the same time as the esteemed book baron.
Hey!
Yay! Congratulations, Lewis. Married life has so far treated me well, but I have a few concerns about my wife's rather lukewarm faith. She's a cradle Catholic who identifies strongly with Christianity, but is basically quite indifferent when it comes to practice, not praying very diligently, and sometimes even regarding attendance at Mass as an optional extra rather than essential to the spiritual life. She's a very loving and charitable person who helped me through the process of my conversion to the church from atheism. But I worry that a combination of her agnostic family's influence and having worked as a teacher in a Jesuit school in London, we're in England, has done some damage to the orthodoxy of her faith. As a convert myself in a distinctly un-Catholic society, I have a few real-life Catholic friends or family members to turn to for advice in a rather wishy-washy Novus Ordo parish church in my village where practically everyone is over the age of 60. I am therefore not sure what to do to get my wife to take faith more seriously. It's not as straightforward as converting her from scratch, and she often assumes that she knows more about religion than me because I am a convert. How can I grow her zeal for the faith and find Christian community in a society where there are so few Catholics?
Well, he's in England, yeah?
Yes. Yep.
All right. Well, first, congratulations on your wedding. Secondly, you may find your wife changes when Chillins enter the picture. She may see things rather differently. But I would suggest that you shop around for a Latin Mass or an ordinariate community. Partly so you could find younger people who whose example may be helpful for her, and partly so she can be inspired by the liturgy. I mean, obviously I don't know your wife from Eve. I don't know you from Adam, and I don't know what your relationship is like with her. So, I mean, a lot depends on your relationship with her and how much she defers to you, how much she respects your position, etc. But I would look around, as I say, for either a Latin Mass community or a ordinariate community, and see about introducing her, finding community that way, firstly, and with any luck, that would rub off on her. And as I say, I think that when she has children, that may alter things considerably. Nothing brings a woman more face to face with the mysteries of reality than giving birth.
Interesting.
It's one of the many things I'm glad we men don't go through.
Okay, Lewis has a second question. He says, second, and on a less personal note, I would like to hear Charles's view on the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. On paper, this was a very successful medieval Catholic monarchy, but it is widely considered to have been unstable and even decadent because of its elective monarchy and high level of official tolerance for non-Catholics.
Well, I don't know about decadent, but it certainly came a cropper in the end. It didn't start out elected. It was the extinction of the former royal house that led to the elected monarchy, and that elected monarchy had some really grotesque individuals take the throne, like Henry III of France before he was king of France. And it made it very difficult for kings of Poland / Grand Dukes of Lithuania to pursue coherent policies. And then, of course, you got to the point to where you had the kings of Saxony elected in succession as kings of Poland, and this had several benefits. The Saxon royal house became Catholic because of it, so that was a real benefit, and they've continued Catholic to this day. But it didn't really do Poland all that much good. Interestingly enough, do you know who the closest relations living today of the old Polish royal family are? The Jagiellons?
Polish? I don't know.
Take a wild guess. Think of the family who always ended up marrying heiresses who were the last of this and the last of that.
The Habsburgs?
Yep.
Okay.
Let other countries fight. You, oh happy Austria, marry.
All right. Yeah, so okay, just my own question. So how can we escape fallen human nature from leadership in church and state?
The way we escape it ourselves.
You know,
the way we escape it ourselves, that's how we can do it. Which is we don't. But what we can do is A, try to be people who are worthy of decent leaders, which is very important. B, pray very hard that such come around. And C, if we do see anybody decent, back them up to the best of our ability. It's about all you can do. You have to ask yourself, is your country, and I'm not just saying the United States, but any country you like, is your country worthy as it is today of having a blessed Emperor Karl break his heart for it?
that's a sad thought.
Well, it's something to think about. You look at Charles I, Louis XVI, Nicholas II. Do we deserve a leader who would die for us?
I can't be the one to answer that question.
No one can. It's a question each of us has to answer in the depths of his own heart. You're looking a little disgusted. You okay? You eat something foul? You're looking a little pained.
Oh, Charles. All right. Final question again from Lewis. He says, what does Charles think about elective monarchies and the way Catholic rulers should treat non-Catholic subjects?
That sounds like two different questions.
Okay,
But
well,
elected monarchies, they generally haven't worked out very well. Usually, it becomes fixed in one family, like the Holy Roman Empire did in the Habsburgs. They went through an election, but the Habsburg always won at the end. And then, of course, you've got Poland-Lithuania, we just touched on. You've got the papacy, which usually doesn't work out too badly. Sometimes you get some real howlers in there. And of course, the United States, but it's renewable every 8 years. You know, one of the things that gets brought up to me is when people say, "Well, at least in a republic, we can change. If we don't like the guy, we can vote him out." Yeah, I'd get someone better, right? And when does that happen again? I'm just curious.
we have
Those
irreconcilable differences on our approach to hope.
what?
What is so wrong with clinging to hope for a better, sustainable future?
Nothing. Nothing at all. In fact, to show you that you're trying to create a false dispute where there isn't one, and I'll prove it to you.
Okay.
All right, New Year's Eve, 1999, 2000. I went out with Brother Leonard Mary, the redoubtable Brother Leonard Mary, and Bonnie Callahan. So my gosh, this is 21 years ago. God bless us all. But we went out to the fabulous Miyako, the Japanese restaurant in downtown LA, or downtown Pasadena rather, which you may remember was quite an elegant place. I don't know if you're ever there, but it was quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
So we had our New Year's Eve dinner there. And there was this old Jewish fellow who was about 90 years old, and he was married to a Japanese wife, and they were sitting at the adjoining table. So I forget why we started talking, but we did start talking. And then the old guy says to me, "Let me ask you, mister, let me ask you, what can we expect of this new year, this new decade, this new century, this new millennium? What can we expect?" And I looked at him. I mean, you know, why he was asking me this, I don't know. And I said, well, more of the same, only worse. And he says, "Well, can't we at least hope for peace?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. Hope for whatever you want. Hope for whatever you like. Sure. Why not?" See?
All right,
What
Charles.
is it you want?
I want unconditional acceptance.
You got it.
All right. Excellent.
You have unconditional acceptance, like Nicola Vittoria demanded from my brother Andre at the Criswell Centennial party.
Exactly.
You remember what happened?
Yeah, that's right. I do remember what happened. I was actually citing that incident, basically.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who aren't aware, my brother Andre at the fabulous Criswell Centennial party, one of our vast horde of friends and relations came up to him, quite drunk. I won't say who she was, but she was very drunk at the moment. And she says, "Andre, I want your unconditional acceptance." And then she was shrugged. She came back, asked for the same thing. She kept asking him for it. And finally, he says to me, "What in God's name does she want out of me?" I said, "Your unconditional acceptance. Haven't you been listening?" And so the next time she came up, he goes, "Nicola Vittoria, I accept you unconditionally." And she goes, "Oh, thanks," and walks off. She got what she wanted.
Yeah, and she was happy.
Yeah. And he had problems understanding this. And now I'm just giving you my unconditional acceptance.
And I'm grateful for it.
There should be.
Yeah.
So I mean, the two of you could be grateful together.
Do you have hope for the prospects of the Tumbler House Corporation?
Tons.
Good.
I've got a lot more hope for Tumbler House than I do for a lot of things.
That's good. Okay. Maybe that's all I needed to hear. Maybe that was what was underneath it all.
Ah, all right. Because if what you were hoping for was some sort of political hope.
No.
You hear the imaginary elves?
Yes.
They come out this time of year and laugh at people. I find the people don't particularly care for it.
No, that's correct.
You know why they come out at this time of year?
Because no, I don't know why.
It's because the veil between the worlds is very thin this time of year. You didn't really think we were going to get through the show without that being said, did you?
I guess I did. Silly me.
Well, yes. Well, look, at least you don't have to worry about hearing it next week.
Why?
Of course, it'll be past Halloween, which would be a good reason not to expect it. But of course, by the same token, it is the month of the Holy Soul. That's probably true. I think there's a good chance you're going to hear it every show until December. Gosh. That's going to be obnoxious. But you know it's even thinner than the veil between the worlds?
What?
The one between Mr. Cacciatore's and the medical center.
All right, that's our cue, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you've enjoyed the episode.
You know, I didn't even answer his last question.
Oh, okay, fine. The way Catholic rulers should treat non-Catholic subjects.
With dignity, discretion, and not allowing them to affect the course of events. No proselytization. No alteration of the morals of the state for the benefit of those who don't share them.
All right.
But I should think on this dark October night that there are two questions you'd want to ask me.
Yes. What is it if it's Monday?
I would say in all likelihood it's off the menu.
But what about the soul you save?
After due consideration and consultation with those in whose opinions I have eminent respect, I should have to say that it might very well indeed be your own.
See you next
Good night,
time,
ladies and gentlemen. Happy Halloween. Happy All Saints. Happy All Souls. Happy Hallow Mass. Hallow Tide. Happy Octave of All Saints. And next week you can say happy birthday.
Okay. We'll see you then.
Take care.